Hello, everyone. Good morning. Sorry, I mean good evening. I'm Zainab from
Not
Creative
quite.
Vision. Yeah, yes. Sorry about that. I'm Zainab from Creative Vision. Tonight we will talk more about how students like yourself can study at top universities in the UK and USA. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. Joining me from Creative Vision is Mr. Sama Al Farhan, who is the founder and CEO of the company and the education expert who has been guiding us all in doing the work in Kuwait. Our guests tonight are Mr. Owen Lloyd and James Crick from Kaplan International Pathways. Hello, guys. I hope you're doing well, and thank you so much for giving us some time tonight. Mr. Sama, would you like to welcome everyone now, and so we can start and go ahead with our webinar?
Sure, sure. Hi, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. And special thanks for our speakers tonight from Kaplan for their time, the time that they will spend with us. And hopefully, we can go get more information as we could to have the best of this webinar. Uh, Always, we try to spotlight on studying abroad, academic life, and a special social life by academic experts from all over the world. Wishing you all a good and successful time, and hope we can start immediately. Zonera?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Sama. Okay, Owen and James, I think before we start, everybody, including ourselves, would like to know more about Kaplan Pathways. What is this, and how can Kaplan Pathways help the students?
That's a very good question. So hello, everyone, and good evening. So as Oneira and Sama said, my name is Owain. I work for Kaplan International Pathways, and also with me on the call is, I'll let him introduce himself. So perhaps.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is James, and I'm working alongside Owen for Kaplan International Pathways. And I was actually myself at school in Kuwait, so very interested to hear from you all. So I've made the journey that many of you have or are hoping to do soon. So look forward to helping you all. Thank you for having me.
A long time ago, James, I'm sure, but so it's a very good question, Zonera. So Kaplan International Pathways, as the title would suggest, we offer pathways and foundation programs essentially to students from across the world looking to come and continue their higher education studies with us in the UK or the US. So they can do so as a number of our UK universities, so 16 universities in total. And a couple of our US universities as well. I definitely appreciate, and I've been living in the Middle East for 6 or 7 years and have been working with universities for a long time. And I've spoken to many students like yourself over the years who are looking at maybe studying in the UK or the US and don't know where to start. So I'm hopeful that Kaplan Pathways and Creative Vision can hopefully give you some useful information tonight and guide you and tell you a little bit about the application process and what to do and where to study as well. So that's just a little bit about Kaplan Pathways. Do you have any other questions, Oneira, or do you want me to maybe just do a quick presentation, or how would you like me to proceed?
Yes, Owen, I think we'll start with your presentation and we'll take the questions at the end. So all the students who have joined us today, let me remind you that we will take your questions at the end of Owen's presentation. So if you have anything to ask or if you have any questions, please keep them till the end of his presentation. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much, Nira. Anyway, so just as I mentioned, essentially, so Kaplan International Pathways. So we offer degree programs for students across the world. So be those 3-year bachelor degree programs in the UK or 4-year bachelor degree programs in the US, and we work with nearly 40 universities worldwide. So from Australia to the UK and to the US. Today we'll focus on the US, but over many years, we've helped literally thousands and thousands of students sort of realize their dreams of studying abroad. So what is a pathway course, or what is a foundation course? So a foundation course essentially does a couple of things. for students. There's many students from Kuwait studying with our universities in the UK require a foundation, either to improve students' English grades and English level, or quite often to enable them to improve their academic level before coming to university in the UK. Once that foundation year has been passed for that first year, students like yourselves are then able to progress onto the first year of the university in the UK or in the US, and students like yourselves can do that from many different degrees. Okay, so I often come to Kuwait many times a year, and many students looking to study subjects like medicine and pharmacy, but any subjects that you're looking to study either for a foundation or a bachelor's degree, or in some cases even a master's, a postgraduate degree in the UK and in the US, all subjects are pretty much available for you, ranging from engineering to architecture to computing to business, to maths to law, and any other subject under the sun that you can think of. So all subjects are available to students like yourself. I'll just touch on the UK for a second. As I mentioned earlier, I think most of you will probably know that a bachelor's degree in the UK is 3 years. So if you're a student on this call today, and please message into the chat box or the Q&A box to let me know what you're looking to study. But if you're a student looking to do a bachelor's in computing, for example, in the UK for 3 years, you need to study that for 3 years from the first year of the university. Now, depending on which school you're going to in Kuwait, and depending which curriculum that you're studying, so maybe some of you are doing the local high school, the Thanawiyah, maybe some of you are doing the British curriculum and doing your IGCSEs, maybe some of you are doing your American diploma. Many students from Kuwait will require that foundation certificate, which I mentioned earlier, which typically is 1 year in duration, usually begins in September and finishes in June. You complete that one and then you progress on to the first year of the university. And there's two things that we need in order to work with Creative Vision to determine whether you're eligible to come and study the foundation program with us. The first thing is your academic qualification, so to make sure that you're a good student and what you're studying at your school in Kuwait makes you eligible to come and study with us at the university. And the second thing, which I'm sure many of you will be aware, is obviously the English, and that many students will need and require a UK VI IELTS in order to gain entry to the university, and really importantly, to obtain a visa to come and study in the UK. So it's a 3-year bachelor's degree and a 1-year foundation program, which in the UK essentially makes it a 4-year bachelor's degree in total. Okay, and between all of our partner universities in the UK, I'll come on to the US in a second, but between all of our partner universities in the UK, we probably have around 500 to 600 students from Kuwait studying with us at the universities. Now, that may seem quite a lot, but of course, these universities are big universities, okay? So some of them, which I'm sure you will recognize, we have many Kuwaitis, for example, studying at the likes of University of Liverpool, University of Bristol, University of Nottingham, Brighton, Birmingham, etc. But we have nationalities and students from all over the world studying with us. So yes, many students from Kuwait and the Middle East, but also many from India, from China, from Kenya, from Brazil, from all over the world, and of course from the UK as well. So these are our 16 universities which you're eligible and able to apply for with the help of Creative Vision in Kuwait to come and study with us. You can submit all your documents to Creative Vision and to Zunaira, and she'll be able to give you some advice on where you can go and study. And as I mentioned, so some of these universities you will be familiar with. Some you may not be familiar with, but hopefully some will jump out for you on that screen there. And some of you on the call today, so quite a lot of our students, obviously from Kuwait, are what we would call students who are holding scholarships from the Ministry of Education. So some of you hopefully will be applying for that scholarship either for January or for September 2021. On that scholarship approved list, all of our universities that I mentioned here are on the approved list by the Ministry of Education, which is obviously excellent news. There is, of course, the distinguished universities list. Now, 5 of KAPLAN's universities are on the distinguished list. Okay, so the University of Glasgow, the University of Bristol, Queen Mary University, the University of Nottingham, and not on here is the University of Birmingham. So all those 5 universities are on the distinguished or the merit university list. if you take a look at that and when thinking of making your applications to the UK. So 5 really popular universities, especially University of Glasgow and the University of Bristol. So the University of Bristol, for example, really popular university with QAT students, really highly ranked university. So it's a prestigious university and offer lots of subjects that you will be interested, I'm pretty sure. So aerospace engineering, psychology, geography, law, for example, civil engineering. So many different subjects available at the University of Bristol and other programs as well. Now, if you're a scholarship student, this slide probably won't be as interesting for you, but there are some people on this call, perhaps today on this webinar, that will be paying for the university themselves, perhaps, or maybe your parents are kind enough to be able to fund your studies. So typically speaking, depending on the university and the subject that you want to go and study, the average cost for a student wanting to come and do a foundation program per year is around 16 or 17,000 British pounds per year. Obviously, if you're a scholarship student, the Ministry of Education and the QAT Cultural Office will be covering the cost of those programs. And just quickly here, these are some of the popular programs that we have with our current QAT students. So pharmacy is a really popular program at the moment amongst QAT students. So we have lots of QAT students coming to study pharmacy at Nottingham, at Brighton, and at Birmingham. Civil engineering and chemical engineering, again, is really popular with us at Bristol and Nottingham and Birmingham. Other engineering programs, computer science, physiotherapy, again, is also becoming extremely popular as well. So that'll give you an idea of the most popular subjects amongst QAT students. But we have students from QAT studying nearly every single program that we have at our universities, but those there would be the most popular, okay? So you can study with us in January 2021, you can study with us in September 2021, and there are some students that can study with us in February or March 2021. Now, if you're a scholarship student holding a scholarship by the Ministry of Education, you can only come and study with us in January 2021 or September 2021. The February, March is only for students that are paying themselves. So the QAT Cultural Office will not approve the February start. But the January start, although you may think it's quite close, there's still plenty of time to apply for January. Typically speaking, if you make an application to ourselves through Creative Vision and through Zunaira, it'll take maybe 24 hours, 48 hours maximum, and you have until the middle of February before you enroll with us at our UK universities. I'll come back onto the UK in a second, but I was just briefly talk to you about Arizona State University. So some of you might be interested in studying in the US, obviously really popular in Kuwait, and Arizona State University is probably the most popular university, or certainly amongst the top 4 or 5 most popular US universities amongst Kuwaiti students. Really, again, really highly ranked university. It's based in Phoenix, which is the 5th largest city in the UK, and there are 4 campuses at the university, which you're able to study a wide variety of degrees. Also very nicely as well, maybe slightly different to the UK, the climate and the temperature in Arizona State University and Phoenix is very similar to Kuwait. So very warm in the summer, but nice and relatively cool in the winter as well. So the climate and the amount of sun that we get in Phoenix is pretty similar to what we have across the Middle East as well. Okay, and this will give you just a quick idea of the subjects again and how highly ranked Arizona State University is for all those subjects here. Now, just quickly, just slightly different between the UK and in the US. So I mentioned earlier that for the UK, students generally from Kuwait need to study a foundation program and then a 3-year bachelor's degree. A bachelor's degree program in the US is 4 years in duration. So you have longer during your bachelor's degree. So quite often for Kuwaiti students, in the US, there's no need to do a foundation program. So there's no need to do 1 year of foundation and then a 4-year bachelor's program in the US. Usually in the US, students can come and just study a 4-year bachelor's degree from their Thanawiyya or from their IGCSEs or from their US diploma. Okay, typically speaking, they will need a higher IELTS. So maybe some Kuwaiti students or some of you on the call today will want to come and study a little bit of English in the US as well. But generally, there's no need to study longer than 4 years in the US, which then would mean it's the same as the UK. So 4 years in the US, but no foundation. 4 years in the UK, but including the foundation program. Okay. So just a quick one, just before I hand over, I do think there are some questions. I think obviously we're all aware of coronavirus and how 2019 has been affected. So some of you might be thinking about that, which is totally fair enough. Yeah. And people and students have not been able to fly anywhere, I guess, and etc. And that we've all been in lockdown. So it's been an interesting year, and many students and many people have been affected, unfortunately. But just to obviously say, from our UK and US universities, the safety of our students is the most important thing. So the option for the UK and for the US, for the students that have just joined us in September and that are coming to study with us in January and next September, the opportunity, if you want to come to the UK and to the US and you're able to fly and you're feeling comfortable as coming to the UK and to study, the universities are open. We are following UK and US government health guidelines. But the option there as well is there for all of you, whichever degree you're doing at whichever of our universities, the option is there for you to study from Kuwait online as well. And this is approved by the Kuwait Cultural Office. Okay, so if you're a student coming in January and you decide, I want to start online in January, and then you decide in March, okay, I'm ready, I would love to come to the UK, that's entirely fine. If you want to start in January and finish your foundation or your first year online, that also is absolutely fine as well. Okay, and I think just important to note that if you do come to the UK or to the US, obviously we practice social distancing in the UK and in the US, so the classes will still be going on, but there'll be less students in those classes. So even if you do come to the UK, there will be face-to-face teaching in our universities and colleges, but there will still be some online teaching as well. Okay, and that's what we would call blended learning. Okay. So yes, so that's just quickly for that one. And I think just quickly, and Zonera, feel free to jump in here if you want to, just on the application process. Do you want to touch on the application process, maybe, Zonera, just to...
Yeah, sure. Because as Owen mentioned, we can get you foundation approval in literally no time. So all you guys would need to submit is your passports, if you have any English language testing results, and your high school diplomas. Am I right, Owen?
Yeah.
To apply for foundation?
Yeah, absolutely, yes. Absolutely. And then Zunaira and the team at Creative Vision can do all of this on your behalf. Exactly. So we definitely appreciate there's 120 universities in the UK, there's 4,000 universities in the US. So it's really difficult to know what you need in your high school to study at which university is good for this subject, which university is approved by the Kuwait Cultural Office. Right. So Zunaira and myself obviously will know the answers to those because we'll have advised many students over the years. So yeah, submit your passport, submit your qualifications from your school so far.
Transcripts,
Exactly. So ideally year 11, year 12. If you're looking at the US, we would need year 9, 10 and 11.
Yes. And Owen, I'd also like to touch a point here that we can see right now in your presentation is most of the universities are accepting online English language tests like Duolingo, right?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So there is a slight difference. So if you're a sponsored or a scholarship student by the Kuwait Cultural Office, the Kuwait Cultural Office, in order to approve your offer, they will need to see a UK VI IELTS. Okay, so the Kuwait Cultural Office are really insistent on that point. And obviously you cannot begin your studies without getting approval from the Kuwait Cultural Office. So if you're a scholarship student, you will still need to do your UK VI IELTS. If
anybody here with us today who are self-funded students, you can take any of these tests that you can see on your presentation right now.
Yes. So if you're paying for yourself and you're not being sponsored or not getting a scholarship from the Kuwait Cultural Office, and if you want to study online, we can accept any of those certificates on the right-hand side there, okay? So if you've done your IGCSE English, for example, we can accept that. We can accept TOEFL, we can accept PTE, we can accept non-UK VI IELTS. However, if you're still coming to the UK to get your visa, you will ultimately need to do your UK VI IELTS. But certainly for the online studies, for those self-funding students that might be here today, then other tests are definitely available for you to choose from.
All right. Okay, thank you, Wayne. That was very comprehensive presentation. I think you touched all the points, but let's go and check what questions we are receiving right now with from the students. Before we go there, first thing that's coming up in my mind, let's say, because we are talking about UK and USA. So what is the difference for students to study in the UK and the USA?
That's a good question. So there's a few differences, I would say. Firstly, I guess, is the distance. So it's a little bit further to the US than into the UK, obviously. As I mentioned earlier, it's a slightly different setup. So the education system in the UK and in the US is slightly different. Okay, so if you come to the UK, you need to have a relatively good idea of what you want to study. So most students from coming to study with us in the UK, they will pretty much know, okay, I want to study civil engineering, I want to study chemical engineering, and their foundation and then their bachelor's degree will be very focused on that specific subject. If coming to the US, for example, because it's a 4-year bachelor's degree, there's longer to study, excuse me. So the first year quite often, and sometimes the second year when studying in the US, is a little bit more generic, a little bit more general, where students can choose, even if they think in their first year, I want to do civil engineering, students in the US are very much encouraged to take subjects outside of that area, so they can choose subjects in politics, they can choose something in business, they can choose subjects in psychology. And if maybe by the end of that first year or the beginning of their second year, they decide, okay, I've done some other subjects, I don't want to do civil engineering, I would like to concentrate on psychology, then that's absolutely entirely possible. I guess another slight difference between ASU and maybe Arizona State University and our UK universities, the size of the university. So Arizona State University is a university of 100,000 students. So it's very much, for those of you who have watched typical American movies in Hollywood, for example, it's very much that type of university, has the most incredible facilities, and the amount of money that's been invested into that university is incredible. That does not go to say that the UK universities are not high-tech or state-of-the-art, but the US ones occasionally, certainly Arizona State University, are on a higher level. The UK universities tend to be just a little bit smaller. But look, in terms of the quality of the education, and if you're coming back to Kuwait, or if you want to stay working overseas, look, the opportunities are pretty much the same if you're studying in the UK or the US. It really depends on the university that you choose to study, making sure it's a good quality university, has good prospects afterwards, and they're teaching you the right way, to be honest. So yeah, I think we could talk about that one for a long time. I think,
yeah,
that's the quick answer for you anyway.
Yeah, sure. Okay. There's a question about studying medicine in the UK. So the student is asking, what is the process, how many years it will take, and does the student need to complete his pre-medicine degree first in the UK?
Yeah, so we get a lot of students naturally from all over the world who want to study medicine with us. So I think I always rather be honest with students who are looking to study medicine. So if you're a student wanting to come and study electronic engineering or business studies, there's no limit really on the amount of students that our universities can accept. Okay, so if we have 100 students coming to study business, fine. If we have 500 students coming to study business, fine. For medicine, because it's funded by the UK government and the National Health Service, there is a limit on the amount of international students and a limit on the amount of UK students that we can accept to study medicine. What that means is that it's by far and away the most competitive degree for students to apply for. The entry requirements are high, and students with the best grades quite often from their schooling still do not get in because the demand is so high. So they only choose the best of the best. Okay, so I would just make sure students looking to study medicine always have a backup option. Okay, so maybe choose engineering or business or psychology or biological sciences as well. Students coming generally from Llanfair, for example, will 100% have to do a foundation, and we do have a couple of medicine foundation programs at our university, so at the University of Brighton and Birmingham University. But again, it's limited spaces on that one as well. So we can accept 10 students to Brighton Foundation in Medicine and 5 for the University of Birmingham. So typically speaking, the higher possible the grades and the more dedication students can show in their application on why they want to study medicine, if they've done any work experience or shown a particular interest in the medical field. That will make students' applications a lot stronger. So yeah, so definitely not to give up the hopes of studying medicine, but just to be realistic that it is difficult. So no, they don't need pre-med to come and study, but they obviously need to have really high science grades in their schooling in biology, chemistry, etc., etc. Any other questions on here? Yeah, and so once students have completed the foundation in medicine, and if they are then successful in progressing to the first year of the university, a medicine bachelor's degree is then for 5 years. Okay, so a foundation would be 1 year, and the medicine would then be 5 years, or 6 years in total. Okay, so
all right, thank you. I think Owen covered everything related to medicine. I think it's been covered. So as Owen mentioned, the best thing is, if you want to apply for medicine, focus on your grades, right?
Yeah, focus on your grades and have a backup option as well. Have a backup
okay, so
plan,
let's take another question here.
Yeah, so there's a question. There's a question at the end there that says, the foundation program, will I study at university campus or on another location? So I've just brought up on the slide here all of our universities here. So just important to say that you will all study on campus at the university. Okay. For many of them, you will study at a foundation program at an international college dedicated to international students, but it will be on campus at the university. You will be a university student from day one. University library card, access all university facilities. You can choose to live on the university campus as well. So for all of these universities here, whether you decide to study in London, in Bristol, in Nottingham, in Glasgow, in York, or in Brighton, you will all study on campus at the university.
Let's take next question. Where and how to apply for humanitarian studies?
Yeah, so the same, depending on whichever subject you want to study. You want to study humanitarian subjects, you want to study international relations, pharmacy, medicine, engineering, the application process will be exactly the same. There is, you can apply on our website, but I would suggest that all applications are directed to Creative Vision. Take your passport with you, send it in to Zunaira and the team, and submit whatever school documents you have. And if you've got any English language qualifications, submit those. And then for the UK, typically speaking, we will get back to you in 48 hours. The US system generally, not necessarily just for Arizona State University, but for all US universities, does take longer, so please be patient with that. US applications generally, whichever university you will go to, for Arizona State University will take 2 or 3 weeks. For other universities, they can take even longer, so 6 to 8 weeks in some cases. So for the US, 2 or 3 weeks if you submit your documents. For the UK, around 48 hours or so. And yeah, you can submit all those documents to Zunaira and the team at Creative Vision.
That's great. So guys, only 2 days are required for us to get your foundation approval. So please do not wait and send us all your information right now. Let's move on to the next question. Somebody's asking about pharmacy. So I think you already covered this question.
Yeah, again, pharmacy at the moment, with QAT students especially, is really popular. So we offer it at Brighton, Nottingham, which is on the distinguished list, and the University of Birmingham. Yeah, so really popular. We have lots and lots of students from all over the world, especially QA, studying it. You need to have some good science and maths background to come and study pharmacy with us. Students typically, so for the University of Nottingham to come and study pharmacy, if you're studying Thanawea, you would need 90% in your Thanawea to come and study pharmacy at the University of Nottingham, because it's on the distinguished list. For Birmingham, you would need 85%, and for Brighton, you would need 70%. But pharmacy, as I said, is extremely popular. Okay. And I think the other question is,
Owen, would you tell us which are the best universities in the UK for engineering? So whoever asked this question, can you be more precise as to which engineering are you looking for?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I mean, all of these, most universities will do most programs usually. So most of these universities in front of you here will do engineering. It depends really what you mean and what you define by best universities.
So the student is asking about electrical engineering.
Yeah, okay. So I guess it depends on what you mean by best university. But if we're looking purely at rankings and the type of students, I would suggest that the University of Nottingham would be the strongest university for electrical engineering. So for all engineering programs, the University of Nottingham for electrical and electronic engineering, civil engineering, chemical engineering, and mechanical engineering, the University of Nottingham is ranked in the top 20, if not in the top 10 universities in the UK for most of those, for electronic engineering and for other engineering subjects as well. So just purely based on rankings alone, overall, the University of Nottingham would have the best engineering programs. But look, there are good engineering programs also to be found at the University of Bristol, the University of Glasgow, Queen Mary University, London as well. But yeah, if you had to press me, I would say the University of Nottingham, yes.
Okay. And a student is asking what percentage, I think, in high school is required to apply for petroleum engineering?
Yeah, so again, it'll depend on the university, but are we talking about Thanawea High School here, I guess? So if we're talking about...
I think, yes, it is high school.
If we're talking about Thanawea, for the top universities, so like Nottingham, Bristol, Glasgow, Birmingham, you'll be looking at 80 to 85%, depending on the university, okay? And really important, and Liverpool also, but also really important, so the overall grade will need to be at least 80%, but the grades for the maths and the physics will also need to be around 80% or above as well. Because we would not want to accept a student that's got 80% overall, but the maths and engineering are 40%, if that makes any sense, because you would only then struggle, unfortunately, if you came to the university.
Okay.
So 80%. There will be some universities here. There will be some universities here that will require less. So if you look at Nottingham Trent University, Brighton, Westminster, UWE Bristol, we would look for 65% for those universities for engineering and sciences.
Okay. There's another question. How can a student transfer their credits from Australia to UK?
That's a good question. It depends really on what they've done in Australia and where they want to go and study and what subject really. But typically speaking, if they've done a foundation in Australia, then they would probably want to be applying for a first year of a university in the UK. So typically speaking, we would need to see what that student has studied in Australia and for how long and how well they've done, what subjects they were studying and what subjects they want to go and study when they transfer to the UK, to the US. And then the university in the UK or the US will make a decision based on that transcript. Similar if you're applying from school in Kuwait to come and study in the UK.
So you can just contact us and we can let you know what procedure is to follow for transferring your credits.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next question now.
What's the next question? Which region is best for Kuwaiti students? I'm not sure what that means. Do you want to provide some more information on that one, whoever sent that in? Any other questions from anyone? I think Zunaira has gone, unfortunately. Does anyone else have any other questions? Do you want to provide some more information on which region is best for Kuwaiti students? No? But for those of you looking, I don't know if some of you are in school now or if you've completed school or if you've just been studying English, but applications are very much still open for the UK for January 2021. So students can come and study with us until the beginning of February. So there's still nearly 2 months actually before you need to come in and study with us. So there's definitely plenty of time for the UK. For the US, unfortunately, it's too late. But definitely, obviously, for the US, you can come and study with us in August, September 2021. So, but generally speaking, and certainly for the US, the earlier you can make your application, because the process is a little bit more complicated and a little bit longer, but definitely worthwhile. The sooner that you can apply, the better. Any other questions, Zunaira, you think? Anything else?
Yeah, there's a few more questions. Actually, I think some students are having trouble in logging in. So the student is asking that which region is best for Kuwaiti students? I think this question can be more generic. Like what I think the student is trying to ask about the environment of the universities, probably. Which region is more?
Yeah, it depends on what you're looking for, to be honest with you. The UK is not a particularly big country, okay? So you can drive from one end of the UK to the other end in a day. So it's not a particularly huge country. It is different, of course. So do you want to go and study in London, where your university is part of a huge city? So you're very much part of the city if you're studying at maybe Westminster in London, or would you rather go and study at the University of Nottingham, where it's quieter and it's very much a campus-based university? So everything is in the one place, your accommodation, your lectures, and your shops, for example, everything is in the one place. So it depends on what your preferences is, really, to be honest. If you want to go into a bigger city, a smaller city, London, for example, would be much more expensive than somewhere like a Nottingham or a York or a Liverpool as well. So I wouldn't say there are any bad regions for QAT students. We have QAT students studying at each and every single one of these universities. The same in Arizona as well, a huge amount of QATs studying there. I think we have more QAT students in the UK at certain universities, because, as I'm sure you will all know, QAT students like to go where other QAT students have been, and they know they've had a good experience. So at the moment,
yeah, exactly. That's why I think.
So it will change, but relatively speaking, we have lots of QATs at Nottingham, Liverpool, Bristol would be the most.
What about Birmingham?
Yeah, Birmingham will have some QAT students, but not quite as much. But 2 years ago, we had so many students at Brighton, for example, and this year we have less students at Brighton. So it changes year on year, but we will have some QAT students at each and every single one of those universities, yeah, for sure.
So another question I'm receiving is that before foundation, do I have to complete my English course? Including the English and foundation, how long does it take for an engineering program to finish?
Yeah, so you don't have to do an English course to come and do a foundation. Lots of QAT students will go to the UK to improve their English anyway. Some will go for 4 weeks, 12 weeks, some for 16 weeks. The foundation will also do a little bit of English as well. So as long as you've taken that UK VI IELTS and achieved between 5.0 and 5.5, you would be eligible for your English to come on to the foundation program. And we will then teach some English in the foundation along with the engineering as well. So the foundation, irrespective of that, would still be 1 year, and the bachelor's degree would be 3 years for engineering, yes.
All right. Can you tell me more about the requirements for architectural engineering?
Yeah, exactly the same again. Exactly the same again. So 80% in the Thanawir, IELTS of 5.5. Again, the exact same two things that would be needed. And again, strong maths and physics.
Right. So a student is asking that they can start the foundation from January onwards, and well, if the universities and everything goes back to normal, they will travel in September probably.
Yeah,
I think nobody can answer it to be
I know.
with any surety, but I think this is what we are looking at, right?
Yeah, so for those of you here that are looking to start foundation in January, the foundation will start in January and finish in August, and then the first year of the bachelor's degree will start in September. If you want to come to the UK in January and study face-to-face, that's absolutely fine. all of our universities are open and, as I said, adhering to local health and safety regulations. If you want to start in January in Kuwait and then come to the UK in September, that's absolutely fine. Whatever option suits students, then we will be able to make that happen for you.
Right. Another student is asking that for foundation, we will study at the university campus, or is this foundation course is studied somewhere else?
All the foundation campus are taught at the university.
Okay.
That's each and every single one of our universities, yes.
Yeah. So the KAPLAN has their facilities inside the university, right?
Yeah, yeah.
For
You would
foundation.
study. You would, if you go to the University of Liverpool, for example, you would study at Liverpool International College, which is part of the University of Liverpool. So, if you're coming to study foundation in Liverpool, if you're coming to study foundation in Bristol, Nottingham, you will study at the university. You're a university student, university ID, access to all the university's facilities. So you will have everything as a university student, even though you're doing the foundation. Yes.
All right. So a student asked which documents are required to apply. I think we already covered that.
Yeah.
We would require your passport copy, your high school transcripts, and an English language test that you have taken. So let's move on to the next question. Accommodation is provided? A student is asking.
Yeah, so accommodation again is provided at each of those universities again. So in order to secure, the option is there for students. So either you can have university accommodation, which we always recommend, or students can choose to have private accommodation in the city, for example. So both options are available to students. Generally, we always recommend, especially in the first year, to choose university accommodation. It's on campus, usually at the university. It's safe, it's secure, and it's a great way for students to meet other students, make new friends, and also improve their English as well. So accommodation is available at all of those universities. You can share a bedroom, you can have your own bedroom, you can have a studio apartment, different varieties that are available for students. But nice and really sociable atmosphere at those university accommodations. So yeah, that'll be available for all students. In order to secure university accommodation, you have to have confirmed your place to study at the university first.
Right. So I'm referring to all the students right now whoever apply with us, and once you have your application approved, we will also help you and guide you in finding the accommodation that you are actually looking for. So don't worry about that. I think there was another question I saw about software engineering.
Just asking if we offer it, and yes, we do. Yes. Nottingham,
okay, so
Bristol, many universities. Yes.
I think Leeds is also one of the Liverpool. Liverpool is also one of the best universities providing software engineering.
Yeah, Liverpool will do software engineering as well. Yes.
All right. Do we have any other questions? Anybody else wants to know anything? Please put your questions in the question and answer section or in the chat sections.
If you don't mind,
sure, please go ahead.
For our students and our guest today, any student who registrates with us within the next 48 hours and complete the registration process will enter with us a draw for a travel ticket to UK or to US, the country that he will study in. So any student who's seriously want to study, this is an offer from Creative Vision.
Very nice. This makes me want to apply as well. So.
So hurry up. Anyone is ready? He should move from now.
The best part is that we don't require a lot of documentation. It's just a very simple process. Just send us your high school or Sanawiyya certificate, any English language testing that you have done, and your passport copy. There's one more question, Owen. Somebody's asking, I want to study at University of Adelaide in Australia.
Yeah.
I think I've been in contact with this student, and I think she wants direct entry maybe. Would you like to talk about direct entry for a bit?
Yeah, so yeah, we again offer, I didn't speak about it today, but we do offer foundation programs at the University of Adelaide, which is obviously again one of the top 8 universities in Australia. Unfortunately, I myself can't talk about the direct entry into the university, but I think maybe if this student is an IB student with good grades, then they can go directly into the university. So don't necessarily need to come for a foundation, but we can refer you to someone at the university to make your application if you would like us to do that at Adelaide for sure.
And if the student, let's say, is not IB student, is a Sanawiya student, they can apply through the foundation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, through Creative Vision, just as for the UK and for the US universities as well.
So for Australia, also the same documents are required? Can you touch base with the...
Yeah, exactly the same documents. Yeah. Exactly the same documents. Again, exactly the same.
Okay, thank you. Let me check. I think there's one more question. The student is asking that he's studying diploma program in Kuwait at a local college, and he would like to transfer the credits. I think he's. Can you please tell us which program you're studying? Okay, so he's studying business, Owen. A student is studying business at a local college.
Yeah.
For diploma, how can he transfer his credits, and can you help him?
Yeah, he's a scholarship student or a self-funding student. Do you know?
Self-funded.
Yeah. So to be honest, we would need to look at the documentation. So we would need to still need to see how well the Thanawiyya went. We'd need to see where this diploma is being studied, for how long, and what subjects they've been studying. And then we would be able to determine whether they can study foundation again, or whether they can go into the first year of the university into something we call an international year 1. So yeah, again, not all of our students come directly from school. So we have students definitely who have completed school, maybe gone and do some work, or have doing a diploma. So look, we have all kinds of different students. So we would just need to see the documentation, and for that student, just to send them through to yourself, Sunaira. Definitely we can take a look at them. Absolutely no problem at all.
Okay, as you heard, please send in your information to us, and we will have everything checked and get back to you. Any more questions, students? You can ask us now. I think we've covered all the questions for now. Again, I would like to say to all the participating students, please, if you have any questions, any information you need, you can always contact us. We are working with KAPLAN, and as Owen mentioned, we can get you foundation program approvals in UK within 48 hours. And as Mr. Sama also mentioned, the offer that he's giving right now to the students, it's a very attractive one. I think if I was a student, I would never let it pass. So please don't waste your time anymore, and contact us, and we will help you in each and every step from getting to UK. We will be there with you all the time. Mr. Sama, do you have any questions for our guests?
No, I guess not, but I would like to thank them very much for being here tonight and give all those information for the student. And also I say, maybe I want to talk in Arabic for a little bit for our student. مساء الخير، مشكورين اخواني الطلبه الموجودين معنا اليوم. هي فرصه جميله ان نلتقي فيكم وتلتقون مع خبراء اكاديميين من كابلن. اذا انت ناوي على الدراسه في الخارج، ابتدي اتبع حلمك، لا تسمع من اي شخص اخر، اتبع حلمك، اختار التخصص اللي يناسب قدراتك وامكانياتك، لا تتردد عن اي وقت تحتاج فيه اي معلومه ان تتواصل معنا. ابدا في التسجيل من الان، التذكره بانتظاركم. شاكر لكم وبالتوفيق الى الجميع. Thank you everyone, and hope to see you again, and we do lots of webinars and to have a successful partnership. Thank you.
Yeah, many thanks. Thank you so much, and thanks to everyone. And hopefully we will see you in Kuwait in person sooner rather than later, and when everything,
Inshallah.
when everything comes, when the world returns to normal, we will be back, I can assure you. So, but thank you so much for today. Really nice, and hopefully we will see you as well in the UK maybe. So thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, James. Well, thank you so much for your presence as well. We didn't hear much from you today.
No, I was just being here to support Owen, but obviously he doesn't need any support at all. But I just want to echo what Owen said. It would be a real pleasure to come and see you all in Kuwait. I haven't been back for a long time, so it would be really nice to be there and to meet you all in person, and also, of course, in the UK as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm just going to put our contact details in the chat one more time for all the students, so you don't miss this information. And you can always follow us on our social media. And I'm sure you already have our website address, but just in case, I'll add it again. And we are here to help you 24/7. So please don't hesitate in calling us, contacting us. We'll be more than happy to help you. Thank you very much. Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.